Hey everyone, before we get into the video, I have a quick announcement to make. Also, shout out to PokeGear.app by Jake Gearhart, using all my deck list profiles. I just want to talk about the fact that my schedule is going to be changing. As you've probably seen if you've been subscribed to this channel, I've been uploading about every day for the past like 2.5 weeks. And it was just kind of an end of summer kind of fun thing for me to do. That I decided to do because it was like, why not? I have the free time right now. I can upload. I've always wanted to kind of be a YouTube channel person again. I've made several stints on YouTube. One of them actually turned out relatively successful, but I don't upload to that channel very often, so it's died out. Regardless of that fact, channel uploads are going to be less frequent. College third year is starting up, so I have lots and lots of work to do. So for the next 3.5 months, guaranteed until like winter break, and even in winter break there will be like no uploads. So I don't know really what's going to happen with the future of this channel. I'll try to upload when I can. My videos are obviously not too difficult to make, so it's not like impossible. But if last year's anything to tell, I spent a month not playing any games or doing anything fun for an entire month because I just had so much work to do. So can't guarantee uploads. Enjoy the deck list profile though, and thank you all for staying. Hey everyone, welcome back to another expanded rogue deck profile. The only thing I'm really good at this channel is covering rogues, so I figure I'd cover one of my favorite kind of just gimmick decks that I play on the expanded ladder when I'm just trying to get a few wins for the day, and this is Cramorant Gulp Missile. Obviously, if you've played in the last 1.5 years, you probably know about this. People were trying to make it work when Vivid Voltage first came out. You discard any number of Arrokuda from your bench and do 60 for each you discarded. Obviously, the deck's just not good enough, though, because you don't hit enough damage. Now, this is the correct Arrokuda to play. If you're going to play an Arrokuda, you play the one with Flock. You search deck for 2 Arrokuda and put them onto your bench. There's other Arrokuda out there, but if I can... Is that how you spell it? Yeah, man. There is actually a promo version. I spelled it wrong. Yeah, there's actually a promo version right here if you want to get it. I think this is a cool artwork. I have like 2 copies of it. The other Arrokudas are horrifically bad. This is just literally a worse version of this, and this is already terrible. So, yeah, play the Flock one because it can stall you a turn and get your Pokemon into play. It's a good card. You play the Cramorant, 110 HP, obviously the continuous Gulp Missile, discard any number of Arrokuda, up to 4 obviously is what you can discard, because there's no way in Expanded to increase name effects. There is in other card games like Vanguard a way to like make your name of your guys in play all one name, and if there's a way for Pokemon to do that, this attack would be hilariously fun to play with. Sadly, not the case. Discard any Arrokuda on your bench. It does 60 more for each Arrokuda you discarded. So you're doing 240 if you discard 4. Retreat cost is -30, which is not, it's not at all bad. You survive a lot of fighting hits in Expanded, surprisingly. I've run a lot of fighting decks where this thing can really take off. It's not a great deck, obviously. You're going to lose against things like ADP and the like, but it is fun. It's good on the lower ladders. We have, this should be right here, 1 copy of Mew from Fates Collide with the Memories of Dawn. It can use any attacks of your basic opponent in play. You could potentially use Flock with it. I have done that before, but primarily it's here to use continuous Gulp Missile, where you will basically get a 5th Cramorant and you get a Psychic Attacker. This is wonderful artwork, by the way, but it's here, Arita. It does have an attack on its own. Search your deck for a Pokemon, put it into your hand. If you have nothing else, you can use that. I wouldn't. And the reason you play this is to hit Psychic Weakness mainly. Things like if you see a Mewtwo Mew GX running around. There's not a lot of Psychic Weak decks right now, I suppose, because Shadow Rider scared them all off. But you know, they pop up every now and then, and you'll hit Psychic Weakness. It's also just good to have a 5th one. It is free retreat, so there's like no reason not to play Mew. You could even play a 2nd copy if you really want to. I think 1 is just fine though. Play 1 copy of Marshadow-GX with the Shadow Hunt ability. You can use the attacks of any basic Pokemon in your discard pile. You still need the energy. These attacks are completely worthless, so ignore those. The reason you play it is to copy Continuous Gulp Missile. If you have a Cramorant in the discard, you now have a 6th Cramorant out, essentially, and Marshadow also becomes a fighting type attacker. It's not the outs that are so much important as much as it is hitting the specific weaknesses. Fighting is obviously a very good weakness to hit for things like Eternatus, Dark Box. There's some colorless decks. I think Hisuian Zoroark V-Star is going to be a force to be reckoned with when that comes out in Lost Origin. We have Jirachi-EX here with its Stellar Guidance ability. When you play it from your hand onto your bench, you may search your deck for a supporter, reveal it, put it into your hand. Use this to get your supporters out, and it's level ball searchable. There's potentially you could put Lele in here and add some different search cards. I'm just going with Jirachi personally. That's just my opinion. You could also put Lumineon V in here because it is Dive Ball searchable. If you do put Lumineon V, I'd probably go Quick Ball over the Nest Ball then. This deck plays a little bit of a weird search out, so it doesn't have a ton of outs to Jirachi, but it doesn't really need them most of the time. It's just there as an emergency option. You could also play Scoop Up Net to get it out of play if you would like. I don't think it's needed, though. 2 copies of Juniper, discard your hand, draw 7, the best draw card in Expanded. You're going to play it. 1 copy of N, each player shuffles his or her hand into his or her deck and draws a card for each of his or her remaining prize cards. It's great with this deck. I don't love N in all single prize decks nowadays because a lot of times Marnie is just better, but this deck does a lot of times play the long game. It's not taking prizes as aggressively as decks like Mad Party would be. For another single prize example, a lot of those single prizers can just up and one-shot opponents without weakness. This deck really can't, so you are going to go behind on prizes, and it's perfect for that. We have 1 copy of Colress here. Shuffle your hand into your deck, then draw a card equal to the number of benched Pokemon in play. So because you were filling your bench constantly with Arrokuda, and you have great ways of filling your bench, plus plenty of search cards, Colress is an incredibly live card. Probably the best supporter in the deck. You could play 2. I could see why. I just like having N and Juniper as higher counts. For the early game, we have 2 copies of Nessa here, put up to 4 of any combination of water Pokemon and water energy. Obviously, you can't get water energy, so you just get back 4 water Pokemon from your discard pile. You're going to get mainly back your Arrokudas you discard. You play 2 of it because you don't really want to use Verse Seeker on it all that often, but it's great for just getting back Arrokudas, just chaining Cramorants to do 240. Great card in that regard. 1 copy of Guzma, switch your opponent's bench Pokemon if they're active, and then you switch your active with one of your bench. Great card. Obviously allows you to gust whatever you want. If you can hit weakened targets, a lot of times you're not hitting one-hit KOs, then that's ideal. 1 copy of Teammates. You can play this only if one of your Pokemon is knocked out during your opponent's last turn. Search deck for 2 cards. Because you're often going to get knocked out, giving up lots of prizes, it's great to have the Teammates to just get back your guys. We have 1 copy of Kukui, draw 2, and then your Pokemon's attacks do 20 more. And in combination with Muscle Band, which also boosts your damage by 20, this allows you to hit that crucial 280. Now, if this card hit 250 as a base number, I would consider playing Choice Band and Choice Belt in here. But the problem is that it hits 240, so it's actually 40 away from the, like, Arceus Dialga Palkia and Arceus V-Star, things along that nature, a lot of tag teams. So I play 1 copy of Kukui, 1 copy of Band. That allows you to get at least once off a one-hit KO on those Pokemon. That's usually all you need to force your way through a game. We have 1 copy of Brigette here. Search your deck for 3 basic Pokemon and put them onto your bench, or 1 EX, but you're not searching the EX out and benching it. You're searching for Arrokudas, Mews, Cramorants, stuff like that. Now we're going to get into the search counts, but I do want to just say that this is like kind of janky. There's some things you could do here with like Quick Ball if you really wanted to. I just don't like it. There's also Battle VIP Pass. I built this deck before Battle VIP Pass was a thing and expanded. Obviously, I've updated this deck by 1 or 2 cards since with like Hisui Heavy Ball. But you could just put Battle VIP Pass in here, just go for the turn 1 Gulp Missile every single game. I don't know if that's the way to go, though. We have 4 copies of Dive Ball, absolutely essential. Search deck for a water Pokemon, reveal it, put it into your hand. It searches your Arrokudas and your Cramorants. It's great. 4 copies of Level Ball, search deck for a Pokemon with 90 HP or less, reveal it, put it into your hand. Shuffle your deck afterward. We have 4 copies of Nest Ball, search deck for a basic Pokemon, put it onto your bench. Obviously, that does unfortunately mean that Jirachi only has 4 outs right here with Level Ball. You can potentially change that if you found something that worked better. I just prefer this. Actually, now that I think about it, Brigette could be replaced for Elm's Lecture here if you really wanted to. That's another thing. But I do like the option of getting Cramorant onto the bench or Marshadow onto the bench. So I play Brigette. You could play Cramorant. I would not play Gloria because you do sometimes want Marshadow on the bench. So Nessa Ball is good because it gets your Arrokudas on the bench, gets your Cramorants, gets your Mew, gets your Marshadow, all that. One copy of Hisui Ball. Look at your face-down prizes, reveal basic Pokemon you find there, put it into your hand, and then shuffle Hisui Ball into the prize cards. So use this to get Arrokudas if they're prized. You could run a second copy, but you generally don't need it. You can function in a game with 3 Arrokudas, because a lot of times you're 2-hit KOing anyway, and 180 2-hit KOs just about everything in Expanded. So, because it's hitting 360 with 2 hits, and that's perfectly fine. So if you're forced to, you know, heavy ball, and you have 2 prized and you get 1 Arrokuda out, sure. A lot of times you'll get a Cramorant out if you have nothing else, Mew, Jirachi, etc. It does essentially give you a 5th out to Jirachi if Jirachi is prized. We have 1 copy of Computer Search, discard 2 cards from your hand, search your deck for a card, put it into your hand. You could put Life Dew in here or Dowsing Machine. I think Computer Search is by far the best option, though. Just having an extra out to all of your supporters in the deck, your stadiums, and mainly your energy. Sometimes the energy can be the hardest thing to find in this deck. Even though you run out of maxed copies of Double Colorless and Twin, you can still whiff them on important turns. Computer Search helps shore that up. You could potentially add a Guzma, Hala, or Energy Lottos into the deck to ensure your search goes off faster. I just didn't really love them. 2 copies of Rescue Stretcher, choose 1, put a Pokemon from Rescue Pile into your hand, or shuffle 3 Pokemon from Rescue Pile into your deck. Use this to shuffle back your Arrokudas, your Cramorants, mainly just for Cramorants though, as you'll see, and Marshadow, because you get back the Arrokudas primarily with 3 copies of Rescue Carrier. I built this deck in the Evolving Skies format, if you're wondering, that's why Rescue Carrier is there. Put up 2 Pokemon each with 90 HP or less from Rescue Pile into your hand. It gets back 2 Arrokudas straight away. Also gets back Mew and Jirachi, which is quite good. Jirachi usually not going to be in the discard pile, but Mew often can be. 4 copies of Versus Seeker. I would not run any less. You just put a support card from the discard pile into your hand. Getting back N and Colress are great for shuffles. Getting back Nessa to pull off a 4 Arrokuda recovery. Getting back Guzma to Gust and Kukui to hit the correct numbers. I wouldn't play any less than 4 in this deck. 2 copies of Special Charge. Shuffle 2 Special Energy from the discard pile into your deck. Even though we do play 8 Special Energy, you are 2-hit KOing often a lot of the time. Here's the thing, though. You need to get energy back, even with 8. So, you play 2 copies of Special Charge. You could go down to 1. Wouldn't be bad. I like 2. 2 copies of Lucky Egg. If the Pokemon this card is attached to is knocked out by damage from an attack, draw until you have 7 in hand. Now, it's not a card you see too often in Expanded. I took the inspiration, actually, from the Ultra Necrozma Garbodor decks. I saw them playing Lucky Egg. They were really popular around the time of the Vivid Voltage and Battle Styles format and Expanded. It was basically like the most common deck around that time. And Lucky Egg just gave you an out to draw in that deck. And this deck, again, does not play like Dedenne, Crobat, and all that. And if you do get ability locked, obviously Lele's getting turned off, and you're really relying on a lot of times using your Versus Seeker for some of the techier supporters like Guzma and Nessa, Kukui, and Teammates. So a lot of times you don't have that raw draw potential, but you usually do not have a hand of 7 because you have a lot of very burnable items very fast that you're just going to use up, as well as playing down stadiums and energy. So you usually do not have a hand of like more than 5 cards unless you're really just bowling the game over. So Lucky Egg's actually been really good in that regard, allowing you to draw back up. If you could find some other stadiums in, or some other tools in here, there's lots of other good ones. Again, you go on the Life Dew route and then maybe play like an Eco Arm in here. You could put more damage mod tools. I just really like Lucky Egg in here. It's worked well. 1 copy of U-Turn Board. The retreat cost the Pokemon is attached to is 1 less. Since everything in the deck has 1 retreat, obviously that provides free retreat, which is pretty awesome. And then also, if it gets discarded, it goes back to your hand, so it's better than Floatstone in that regard in all decks, except for ones that play like Galarmine. Brooklet Hill, once during each player's turn, the player may search the deck for a basic water, a basic fighting, put it onto their bench. There's almost like no better stadium possible. Like, this stadium is almost made for this deck in a way. Not really, because they're made like 4 years apart, but you get the point. Brooklet Hill is absolutely perfect for this deck. There's like no better stadium you could have asked for. Because if you use something like a Rescue Stretcher, shuffle back in Arrokuda, you can get 1 back. And in the early game, it just helps you get your Arrokudas out. Notably, can also get Marshadow. Another card I have considered in this deck, it used to be in this deck, I just didn't really love it, is Phione from Cosmic Eclipse. Phione from Cosmic Eclipse, obviously, if you do not know, let's bring it up. It's a very cool card in a lot of my favorite decks. It allows you to just put it on the bottom of your deck if it's on your bench, and then discard all cards attached to it. But then your opponent has to switch. But they get to choose is the thing. It's not like a Lysander effect. It's a escape rope effect. And it's certainly not bad in that way. And it is good with Brooklet Hill, I will say. So there's definitely a part of me that wants to put it in just because I love FCO, and it does give you more options, allowing you to gust on every turn. A lot of times your opponent can just feed you like Pokemon that aren't getting one-hit KO'd, and something like, you know, in a Shadow Rider matchup, I mean, that matchup is almost unwinnable, certainly, but if they were to, like, you know, feed you a Pokemon and they knew they could just Acerola heal it, it's just not great in that way. Though I could see absolutely why you would play Fion. Like, perfect card for this deck. You can search it with all of these. You can search it with Brooklet Hill, and it's still effective. It's just not in my list. You could perfectly play it, though. 8 copies of energy, 4 DC, 4 Twin, and these are obviously for attaching your energy. Yeah, that's about all there is to say about this deck. Of course, I'm going to put a thing at the start of this video that's talking about my upcoming schedule changes, so, you know, if you enjoy these deck profiles that I'm going to be uploading less often, I hope you enjoyed my little stint here on YouTube where I was doing, like, daily uploads. You know, check out my other deck profiles, maybe you like some tabletop gameplay. I don't play any like standard format stuff, but I will be uploading some retro format stuff as well as just some good old tabletop with my cube and the casual FFA format. Do have some 2010 in the plans, 2011 Heart Gold Silver Noble Victories, two of my favorite formats. Maybe even some lot once I build a couple more decks for there. Maybe some SSH BRS once I build a couple more decks for there, stuff like that. So there's some good formats there to look out for. And thank you all for tuning in once again to another one of my goofy expanded deck profiles. Don't face Shadow Rider, don't face healing decks, and this deck can be quite a lot of fun.